Yeah, I don't know how I ended up in the trailer. I mean, it is an interesting story. Somebody somebody was fucking with me. I don't know if they're fucking with me or not, or they're trying to see how much I care about the past or something. But they showed me a picture of a fucked up trailer that looked like my old Airstream deal or whatever it was. At a 1964 trailer. It wasn't mobile. You couldn't. But yeah, I got that. I think I got that because that's about around the time I got my SSI finally, and I had to get away from the people because I was living in deep in Schenectady, and at the time, back, what was it, 20 fucking 3 years ago? Yeah, 23 years ago, it was dangerous. It was not like it is now. Things change over 23 years. It's a really nice place. It's a super nice place to live now. But back then, it was even worse in the 80s and 90s. But around the millennia it started, but it was still rough. And I used to live in these buildings where people were we were all we would get where people like us go to jail and we get out of jail and then we go into a program. They all of a sudden they you're in a program all day like I was, and it's not a nice program. It's an inner city one, a prison type rehab. So yeah, it was rough. You'd go there with I would all the people I congregated with were all serious crack cocaine users. A lot of them had HIV, and a lot of them were pimps, and a lot of them were child molesters. And we gathered at this place called ASA CSC, and oh, I'm still homeless, man. I need, I get I'm waiting on my furniture from the Salvation Army, and I need a job because I got to go to Manpower once I get out of here. And this is the shit I'm listening to. I was just a homeless punk rock, guy. I used to bring my guitar to ASACSC with me. But they'd assign you jobs, and then people would come around and take interest in you. And then eventually you all be looking at the board of apartments coming up where you could get your apartment. I had a girlfriend. I lived on her floor, thank God. I had a bunch of girlfriends back then. I used to live on their floors. And so these apartments you get that they advertise for are all probably system people. So the apartment you get finally, and that they help you get it through welfare eventually, which takes fucking months. It still does. I haven't had to do that in years. You're basically now living with the people you go to ASACSC with, which are all reformed, not reformed, pimps, prostitutes, serious alcoholics, crackheads, and people were dying in my hallway every other day. I remember the last, I'm not sure which time it was, but there was the last two times I seen people die in my apartment unit, which was it was seriously ghetto. It was infested with roaches and retarded white girl prostitutes. That's what happens to retarded girls. They don't always fix your teeth and put you into the sex trade. You get sent into a lower sex trade where you're a half retarded white girl with a fuck. Yeah. And that's what you're doing basically. Big brother's coming to fuck. This is just how I grew up. I'm sorry, but coming to fuck a half retarded white girl and all day. And you'd see that and you'd make friends with the pimps. But what was my point? Yeah. I just got sick of seeing people die. There was this one dude back, he died in the hallway and he was out there for 8 hours because it was three people actually. No, four. And he died and I came out finally and I said I heard him talking in the hall with his girl about 8 hours ago. I finally went back downstairs. His fucking fingernails had turned purple by then. And yeah. And he was and I just didn't like that. My girlfriend was coming up the stairs at the same time I found him. And she's like, and she said, later on that day, she said something about his nail polish. I'm like, that wasn't nail polish. His fucking fingernails turned fucking purple. He was dead as fuck. And he was serious, And he looked at it. It's just that pallor you get. It was before, he rigored or anything, but it's just that pallor. He had turned white by this point. And then there was another time, a crackhead I was going across town to see my mother. for a Christmas party, and there was this crackhead who just I kept helping. When I left for about 6 hours before the party, I helped him out of the snow because he was drunk and he was looking to get high. I came back from the party, he's still there, and I kept pulling him out of the snow, and he died overnight because it was a really cold, right out in front of my fucking window. When I woke up in the morning, I looked down, I'm like, that motherfucker's still there. I thought he was alive still. And he was there for like 16 hours in a busy city, and nobody stopped to do nothing. And that always fucked with me because I always thought, well, I couldn't have saved him, you know? He was trying to get in the lobby of the apartment complex because it was somewhat warm. I wouldn't let him in, but nobody would. I mean, you just don't let people in. I don't know what else I could have done. And then shit like that. And then late at night, there'd be fighting and, you know, I got sick of taking a special route to the gas station late at night to avoid trouble, you know. So getting a trailer was like a step up in the fucking world because it was just me in a box with another person. And the only regrets I have about any of that is I wish I would have gotten my cat fixed because he lived for 23 years and he pissed all over everything. Just prodigiously all his life. And it got me kicked out of so many like important, like I got kicked out of fucking government housing because of the cat. Yeah. The cat had a big set of balls on him, and it's just like, now I got this other cat. And it's creepy because it's totally clipped. I mean, you could see where his balls were. Yeah, and it's totally scary. But yeah, it would have been much, much better. They learn to use the box better when they're neutered. They learn to, you know, be cleaner. Because he was such a messy motherfucker and he couldn't stop spraying shit. I guess that's how they masturbate. Or whatever. But yeah, I mean, it's like a system built where everything fixes itself. You know? Yeah, I can go on forever about it.